which is what we're trying to do. This isn't like a production for the world. This is to actually, try to connect with people. So here I'll let the partners introduce themselves real fast. What I want you guys to know is, like, especially people who've been to a handful of our events before, some of you guys know our preferred partners, some not, but I also know that, realtors, anybody who's experienced any success in real estate is used to being harassed by vendors. I will guarantee you that's not going to happen. Nothing what I do with, the publication, with the events, with the virtual events, with the app, like nothing what I do is possible without the support of our partners. And so they're not here today to sell themselves, but just really to be a resource. I'm sure they would glad to connect with you after in any way that they can, and I'll send everybody's info out privately. But as realtors, you are, experts in your field. The partners are experts in their field. So I believe that they can be a resource to lean on during this time. So let's see here. George, you were on first, so why don't we start with you? And same thing, just name, company, how long you've been in your field for, then Christine, and then Paul, and then I'll kick off the call. So go ahead, my friend.
Good morning, everybody. George Kaiser, Wintrust Mortgage, 23 years of lending. 23 years. And I have my partner, Blair, who's Blair Robinson. He is 11 years in lending.
Go ahead, Christine.
I'm Christine Matsunaga from Tristinstyling. I have been a fashion stylist for 22 years. But in the last 3 years, I've actually become very, very interested in investing in real estate. So I've been working with my realtor in real estate. So now those two worlds have kind of melded together.
All right, Paul, go ahead, my man.
Paul Youkhana. I'm a real estate attorney. I've been practicing since 2013 and started my own practice in 2014 going into 2015, mainly focusing on real estate, transactional work, residential, and a little bit of commercial.
Cool. And Paul just had his partner spotlight for August, so he's actually got I would encourage people reading that. It's a cool story. And so, no, this is fantastic. I mean, this is very unscripted. A lot of these collaboration sessions have a mind of their own. Some people we talk about the same topic for 40 minutes. Other people, it bounces around, but essentially is your time. What I have learned is that the more I talk, the less value you're going to get out of it. Now, obviously, if there's a 19-second awkward pause, I have some conversation starters, but working with the caliber of realtors that we work with, usually there's no shortage of breath. So, we can talk. Why don't people just open up and we can talk about the markets, or just any insight that maybe people have implemented in their business or nuance that seems to be working over the past several months, or something that seems to be not working. So anybody can go, and I'm going to shut up.
About time, Andy.
I walked right into that.
I've seen a lot more inventory in the market. I don't know if that's just in the city or whatnot, and I see a lot of buyers definitely taking their sweet ass time making decisions. And that's, especially on the listing side, been very frustrating. The feedback hasn't been all that great when they're like, oh, they got a lot of options, not sure what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. I've seen a lot of that across the board for at least the last 4 to 5 weeks. Have you guys seen the same?
Yeah, I actually pulled contracts accepted by week for north side of Chicago recently, and it was like June and then July is softly cooling down, and getting my sellers to wrap their minds around that after all they're seeing is everything's great, buyers are out in force. It's like, no, guys, like look at this little trend here. This is what you're looking at now.
Yeah.
I find that interesting because as a buyer, I've actually been looking for a building for the last month, and I move very quick. I do all my homework first before I even do a showing. When I do a showing, I'm pretty much ready to do an offer if I like what I see. And I tell my realtor, put in the offer, 30-day close, let's do this, tell them today. And we find that it takes a long time for people to get back to us. And I'm like, it's been 2 hours. Okay, it's been 3 hours. So I do find that interesting that you guys are coming across that.
So I think you're a millennial. So the sellers probably are not millennials. I think that's the problem there, the disconnect.
But I mean, I'm suggesting that especially if it's over the weekend, I suggest my sellers to wait till Monday, especially if we have a lot of showings. So I would say maybe on your end is ask, do you guys have multiple showings the next few days, or what is the whole? I think I would be inquiring. I'm getting on the south side, which is my world, my primary world, it's a different story. Where if I get something that's listed right, property-wise and location-wise, I'm getting 4 to 5 offers routinely. So I just had 3 this weekend, and we just waited till the weekend ran its course, and I set the expectation. If I get an offer in on Friday night, I'm going to tell the agent, look, we can't respond to your offer right now until we see what else is coming in. So we do let them know that. And I think what's appropriate is that an agent should at least give you some type of information, or else as a buyer or buyer's agent, I would request that. Say, hey, when should we expect to hear back from you? What's reasonable? Says if not, we're going to send out the army to find you guys.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think setting expectations, and that's really what should be done. As brothers and sisters here, we should, and look, we're all running our businesses. We should respect everyone, and primarily as a seller agent, I set expectations with buyer agents so that they don't end up hating me, or because in the future I may be on the other side of the fence. So I want to make sure also that I'm treating you with respect. And if you know what's going on, then you're going to be able to communicate with your client and say, hey guys, we made an offer. He's going to want to see what else is out there, and we're probably going to have to go highest and best come Monday. And that's what we've been experiencing. But we haven't really experienced any slowdown yet.
Mm-mm.
I also think it all depends on the price point and type of property. So on multifamilies, it's usually multiple offers, especially 3 to 4 unit buildings. 2 units, it all depends on price and area and condition. Houses, my experience has been that the houses, if they're priced right and they are in moving condition, being painted, they're ready to go, they sell. The condo market, to me, it seems to be so. The West Loop has been slowing down, South Loop has been slowing down. I felt like River North, like all the downtown area and North Side, I guess there is a migration from the condos towards houses, building suburbs, right? And I'm noticing some of my clients that are moving in the suburbs, they're not selling, they're renting. So the rental market, I'm also feeling is really soft. I don't know how you guys, I do a lot of investments, so I have a lot of rentals too. So the rental market has been soft, and for the first time I've been dropping rents versus, having multiple applications, right? Like for an August 1 move, which again, has something to do with studying from home for college kids and not moving, right? So it's a shortage of people moving in. So depending on your market, Christine, I mean, if you're looking at buildings, 3 to 4, you're going to have multiple offers. I feel like 3 to 4 units have been appreciating more and faster than any other type of real estate in Chicago. I don't know how your feel is, but the buildings I've sold over asking price, and I'm listing more, and I expect the same. But again, condos are slow.
Okay,
so are you guys finding?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. And I was just saying, so you're finding in like high density areas, you're finding the condos market is slowing down dramatically, or any area?
I think in the downtown area. So I don't have any condos on the north side for sale right now. Everything I have is in the downtown area, and that's been my experience. And I'm putting a couple on the market now, and I'm staging them. So I've had my clients do a lot of work and also staging them. I'm asking them for 6% commission to make sure the other agent is paid well. So we want to stand out. I feel like I'm getting back into 2009, 2010 market. If you remember, guys, when we were lower, we had to compete with the REOs. So I'm going back to that type of marketing. Even single families that don't look good, or the owners don't have the money to remodel the kitchen or bathroom. I'm saying, okay, then you'll paint, do the floors, and let's just stage in that case.
Okay. I wonder if that might be it, is the type of property, because I actually bought my first home in 2008. And then after that, I did 4 more transactions with my realtor. And now I'm looking for a 6-unit or above, or even commercial. And so it might be the type of unit that I'm looking for. And I specifically, I mean, ideally I want to be in, I want my building, the building of this year, I want it to be in Lincoln Park or Lakeview or Wrigley. I've searched the surrounding areas. I want an income property that has 6 or more renters, or, you know, and it's so weird. I mean, we've had 2 deals that I put my offer in, close in 30 days. Let's do this. And it was like, what's going on? And they're still on the market. I don't know.
You are dealing with a different market. You are dealing with commercial. Plus, the commercial agents were different than everyone that's on this call today.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, they're not that friendly. What you are seeing today here does not in the commercial. And the commercial, so that's what's going on. So I didn't realize I was in 6+.
Yeah, the 5 other transactions I did, I'm like, okay, you know, it was always quick. I said, okay, Nicole, my realtor is Nicole Haidu with @. And I'm like, okay, I did all my homework. I don't even want to take her on showings unless I know I'm serious about the building. She knows I don't waste her time. So I'm like, Nicole, this is the one. Let's do it. Boom. And we're done. Any transaction I've done with her, it was like a one-shot deal. I got the first building or house I wanted right away. But I'm like, what is going on with this? I thought it'd be easy. So that's interesting to know, that commercial versus real estate. I see. Okay.
So you learned something, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Good to know. I was getting.
I got a question for Mike Olszewski. Mike, hopefully you're there. Mike, what do you see with REO filings and with the court delays? When do you think that do you think the market's going to be flooded in about 9 months with REOs?
Yeah, Frank, thanks for. I want to get in there and discuss this with everybody. Well, a couple things. Marketing with the REO, the banks are telling all this. The properties have to be seasoned. We're not even looking at any properties until after 10 days on the market. So from the time I list it on the 11th day, we'll take offers, but they won't consider any offers until day 11. As for my properties that I renovate, I've been noticing multiple offers coming in. If you've got a good product, you got proper exposure, you're going to get a ton of offers on there. People are really chomping at the bit to buy property. As for the REO market itself, I was talking with a couple of my clients that are in New York and throughout the country. They're predicting after moratoriums are lifted, and about 3 months after that, you're going to see a flood of the REO starting. Our markets, they're telling me our market's going to have a big correction. And here's what's weird about this. You know, remember the correction in 2008 when it took place around 2008? The reason we had a correction in the market is because people were paying too much for houses, but people were working. People had jobs. This particular time where you have the correction in the market, a lot of people aren't working. And I wonder what's going to happen. People are out of work. Are they going to be buying? Who's going to be buying these houses? What percentage of these people that have lost their jobs aren't going to buy? And now with people refinancing, I know this is definitely going to happen. People are refinancing, you're getting a really low interest rate. What are they going to do 2 years later? Let's take a home equity loan out. Let's take some money out. Let's go buy a boat or a car. They're going to be in the same problem they were 8 years ago. We're going to have the debt service still so high. You're going to have foreclosures resulting from that and just from the correction in the marketplace. So everyone, you're going to see a ginormous amount of REO coming. I would say conservatively within the next 6 months. And it's going to trail and keep on going more so than the average of regular REO foreclosures because of the matters I spoke to just earlier about. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on in my market.
Hey, Mike.
And with the stuff that happened.
Hey, Mike, remember like back in 2002, I was sitting in your office and we were talking about the market getting, because we saw the same thing here where prices are just going nuts. I mean, even on the south side, banks are starting to let prices go crazy now. I mean, areas like Avalon Park where it would be, if I got 220 for a bungalow, I'd be happy. Now I just got an appraisal for 285. And I mean, these numbers are just going up and up and overnight. So there, you know, what I've always noticed was when the prices outrace the median income, it's got to make a correction. And we were talking about, I remember sitting talking about this. We're going to see the same thing happen that happened in Florida. You know, we've seen 2 corrections, you know, since then. And do you think with these values going crazy again, that's going to be a major influence on the on the correction in the market.
Definitely. And it's funny you bring it up because I remember I handle Credit Suisse's non-performing assets. And, you know, I got a call from them and they say, hey, Mike, our stuff's not selling now. What's going on? And this is one before the market crashed. And I told him, I said, Dave, here's the deal. You got a 2-flat in Austin that was rehabbed that sold for $180,000. It seemed 2-flat rehabbed again 3 years later, selling for $360,000. That's inflated appreciation. And I said, we're gonna have a correction in the market. He said, well, our economists are telling us it's a strong market. I said, David, I know this marketplace. We're gonna have a correction. 6 months later, we had the correction. So these are all factors, everyone, to keep in mind that we are gonna have a correction. What these buyers are gonna be doing, and I just think it's a time where you really have to know your marketplace, know your buyers, and know what you need to do to keep your business going and thriving.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, you know, the lesson learned here, especially for people that don't have, that haven't worked for 100 years like Mike and I have, is that there is always business out here. You just have to look and see where the opportunity is, and the market's always shifting. It very rarely flatlines for an extended period of time. So, and just be prepared for a big correction coming, because I've seen this probably 5 times during my career where this is going to be massive. So, you know, you're going to see bone up on your short sales and stuff like that. So, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, but what's really interesting too, 2 other factors to think about is that right now I'm doing a couple of big projects for the city of Chicago, and I was speaking with the Department of Planning. And right now in Chicago, there are more renters than owner occupants for properties. And think about this, the millennials now, they're not buying, they're renting. But think what's going to happen 5 years from now when they start having kids. What are they going to do? They're not going to want to be in these apartments with 1 or 2 kids. They're going to want to buy houses.
I think
so
the
I know
millennials are
what,
buying now.
Oh, okay. Well, you know more about that
now.
market than I do. Are they buying now or are they running?
Yeah.
They are buying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're buying now.
Absolutely. They're buying like crazy. They're finally jumping into the market. The low interest rates have made a huge difference. And they're out there right now in force. All through COVID, that was the sector of the market that was moving, whereas the luxury and the high prices were on hold because the people who could afford luxury could afford to shelter in place. But you look at that first-time home buyer market, it's on fire. And I think lenders are still being conservative. I don't think that, I understand what you're saying about, the future being a challenge, but it's hard. If you go beyond a conforming loan right now, lenders are being super tough. They're looking at what industry you're in. They're not just giving money away like they were before. So I think that's going to help be preventative for the future downturn. My sense from talking to other people around the country is that the place where you're going to actually see some real issues with bank foreclosures is in the development side, because developers didn't build their product to sit on hold during COVID, which is what's happened in a lot of places. And homeowners, when they're in their home, can take it off the market and say, I'm going to wait a year or 2. But some of these developers that are sitting with a lot of unsold condominium units, which are also out of favor, are really going to be where there's going to be a buying opportunity, I think, in the next couple of years.
Well,
So
a comment.
I want to add, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so I spoke, I'm building actually a 4-flat, and I spoke with my lender over the last, 6 months. His bank, his directive is you do not foreclose. I mean, these guys are doing new construction, rehabs, and they are having commercial loans. And what they are doing, as soon as even before the quarantine hit in February, they called all the people that could have had problems, like, plazas, right, places with commercial business, and they restructured the loan, or they allowed them to not pay mortgage for 3 to 6 months. And that's what's happening also in the residential. So right now in the residential world, lenders are allowing up to a year of non-payments. They're not giving all the year at once. They're giving 3 months at a time. I've had 3 clients that are older, they are leaving country, and they just stopped paying mortgage. As soon as they call me, I said, just reach out to the bank. I am not kidding. 1 message. They sent an email. They just said, yes, you are approved. Like, they didn't have to send documents. They didn't have to show anything. All they said, I request a delay on paying my mortgage because I can't afford it right now. due to COVID, I don't have a job. And they said, fine, you have 3 months. In 3 months, let us know. You don't have a job, we'll give you another 3, and we can do this up to a year.
Yeah,
So
I've heard that as well. Yeah.
Right. So that's what, to me, doesn't reconcile with all these foreclosures. If it's so easy to delay your mortgage and move it at the end of the 30 years, all you have to pay is the taxes and the insurance, then why would you leave your house to foreclosure? Plus, over the last 10 years, we've had steady appreciation. The rental market is doing so well, meaning the rent on the same property, it usually covers the mortgage or you make a profit. So why in the world would you lose your home if you either can move your payments at the end of the loan, or if you move out, you can rent it and actually make a profit?
Well, that's providing that you communicate with your bank. So the problem is a lot of people go into foreclosure. I'm sure Mike will tell you this too, that they just stick their head in the sand and hope that the problem goes away. And so even with this, yeah, I've also heard that too. I know several people that I've talked to, because I chase pre-foreclosures, that have told me that their banks have extended or tacked on 6 payments on the back of their loan. So I think a lot of banks are going to start getting aggressive in that area as well too. But that'll be real interesting to see. What I'd love to hear from is anybody doing commercial work, because I mean, commercial is already radically changing with Amazon, coming through and knocking out a lot of, but there's a lot of Amazon-proof businesses out there. And I'm just kind of curious from if there's anybody out here that specializes in commercial, is what you see is happening with the commercial segment, or what you're anticipating.
Frank, I don't do commercial, but I have clients who own commercial buildings. And what I'm hearing is they're pretty concerned because most of these big companies who have office space are not expecting their workforce to ever come back fully to work. A lot of companies are deferring when they're going to bring people back for another year or so. And even then, I think they're no longer expecting it to be full force. So the downtown office buildings are going to be a challenge. Certainly, we're all seeing the lawsuits that the major restaurant chains have against their insurance companies right now about loss of business. I mean, retail I think it's going to be a real mess for a while, but I think the office space downtown is going to be radically changed going forward, and makes me glad I'm in residential. Yeah, Megan.
It'll be interesting to see how it gets repurposed.
My husband and brother are in office tenant rep leasing. So it's, just like Jenny said, they're just, companies that they're working with that have been on the verge of like making a decision, and even like national companies with offices in New York, Chicago, Atlanta, that my husband's dealing with, they're totally pulling back, reassessing, scaling down, figuring out what their true needs are. Yeah. He's seeing like 7 to 15% occupancy in buildings, like not even, and then it's like, is strategy changing on protocol for entry, elevator, touch, just I think it's going to be 1 to 2 years before people start to really feel comfortable making decisions in that space. And they're just going to punt and do maybe short-term things to buy, like, I don't know, to avoid longer-term like decisions and handcuffs on like a longer-term lease at this stage.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's good. I don't know how you can't really repurpose it, any high density tall building, if it's used for office space that I can think of. I mean, I can see repurposing malls and all that stuff's being done, but that's going to be the interesting part. But I never thought of that. It's about taking a couple of years to come back. And I mean, how many people they're allowing to get on an elevator now? And I mean, it would take forever imagine you've got 1,000 people in the building. They got to get up at the same time. You're only allowed to get 3 people in an elevator. I mean, it would take you all day to go up and down. So it's just that's the thing. I'm curious if those buildings are even going to survive.
One of the interesting things we're seeing on the residential side is that now that people have learned that they can work from home, there's two big shifts. I've gotten several calls this summer from people saying, we rented a house in Boulder, we rented a house in Montana, you know, we're in these places and we're not going to come back because they can stay there. They can work from there. If they need to have a meeting, they can get on a plane. But rather than be in the city where they can go into their office every day, they've realized that they don't have to. We're also seeing a huge shift. I don't know if anybody on the call works in the suburbs. My company's now open an office in the North Shore, and we're on fire up there. And you've got markets like Lake Forest, which was selling barely at 30 cents on a dollar for the last few years. And now people are saying, well, of course I can go live in Lake Forest. We're up in that area, an hour from the city, have a big backyard, a pool, you know, nature. And then I don't need to do that killer commute. I can go in, you know, once a month or twice a month or whatever. So I think that this shift, you know, we were shifting everybody into downtown for convenience, and now they're shifting right back out because they're realizing that they don't have to be here.
That is so cool. That's what I'm talking about, opportunity. I mean, because I think we all know Lake Forest was a dying situation. Now it's cool. I didn't even know that, but that's awesome. That's you opened my eyes to new opportunity. That's really cool.
Same with my clients. I'm seeing some clients moving even from this plane to Lake Zurich or to Barrington because they want 1 to 3 acres. So it surprised me because it's some of my investors that were sad their house was paid off. They had no intention of moving. And all of a sudden I get calls, we want the acre, the 1 acre. We want the big house because we want the gym in the basement. We want the kids to have a room outside in the backyard. And my clients, it's happening exactly like Jenny's. I have clients that have actually rented houses for the winter. So for 6 months for the next, so they're going to Florida, they're going to Texas, to California. And interestingly enough, they are renting their homes here furnished. So I have specifically 2 clients in Lake Forest that we are talking to Lake Forest. They are renting their homes to downtown people over the next winter. So they are going south.
Huge bank. They can make huge bank. I have clients too for both scenarios, but really close friends who are were trying to sell in Lake Forest, scrambled and got theirs on the market. And while she was literally about to have her 4th child at 43 years old, and her 3, 6 and under, Andy, you can relate. And anyways, theirs is walkable from town, mint condition. They've done everything right to it, bought in 2013, and are going to be able to get still not recover from what they paid, but something that had been sitting literally for 5 years, they offered on, and they got in a multiple and lost because they weren't expecting. But it's like things are finally moving, and I'm working with some clients. I'm trying to get their house on the market this week. She's in the service industry with Blue Plate and has been for like 15 years, and that the whole hospitality industry is just
dead.
It's dead, and she's like, she's one of 3 people hired back because they're shifting 100% their business plan. And like she said, they're like making sandwiches and trucking them out to San Diego, like just getting creative to try to survive. But she's, you know, still like her salary's cut in like 1/3, and he is now totally remote. And what was like an essential for him to be in the office every day in a smaller scale company, the CEO is now like, we're going to kind of be remote, and they're going to move to Boise, Idaho, because it's a cheaper cost of living. They're sick of getting jabbed for taxes. They want to like thrive and survive instead of like make it, you know? So I do feel like that's a trend, but
I was on a call with our office in Park City, and they're on fire. Like they're getting premium dollar. People, again, they're saying like, I want to be in nature.
Yeah.
I think the COVID circumstances have caused people to really get back in touch with what makes them happy. It's, you know, there's been a real shift in values. So we're obviously seeing a shift in what they want in their homes. People want big kitchens, nice kitchens, because they're cooking more. If somebody wants to renovate, the line to get in, you know, with a designer or order cabinets and stuff is like years right now. People need rooms with doors because they need to be able to work from home without listening to their other people in the house. College kids have come home. and are doing their college in their house. And so we're seeing people who actually downsize that need to upsize again. They want private outdoor space. Like, we're seeing such a different market where the big houses that weren't selling because of the property taxes, now buyers are not making financial decisions, they're making emotional decisions. They're buying for lifestyle. I need this for my family first, and that's their first priority. Whereas the last couple of years, everybody was very analytical and, you know, what's going to happen and what's going to happen with taxes. I don't know. And now they're like, nope, this summer, I got to move before winter, before we're stuck back inside, you know, I just got to do it. And so it's a different market. Homes that are downtown, don't have outdoor space, that have small kitchens and open floor plans are a challenge. But boy, you know, the more nature and the more green and the more compartmentalized rooms, like, the better right now.
So let me ask you a question, if I can, on that front. So all of this conversation, like, where does that put the luxury market in Chicago, do you think? I mean, I've just recently come on with a couple homes. One I sold really quickly, and some neighboring ones, two in like the Old Town area, like I just sold in a couple days.
Yeah.
You know, at like $1 million. So it's a lower, you know, comparatively to some, you know, for a single family, you know, it's over sort of south of North. But anyways, if you see everyone fleeing, and I'm getting this question, and I'm like, I'm seeing activity on stuff too, because I do think people are trading up who have the money and are committed to the city for their school or other reasons, and maybe have a second home. But it's like, I don't know 100% where this leaves our market if everyone's fleeing, you know what I mean?
Some of it's schools too, Megan, because if I've got clients, our kids are in private school right in the city, tuition's very expensive. And if it's all online school, I know a lot of the other people who are there are going to say, heck with it. I'm going to go to my Michigan house and send my kids to public school there. Or I'm going to go to my house in Colorado or whatever. Why pay? There's a lot of people in the luxury market who are weighing, why are they paying for private schools in the city if their kids are not going to go to school and have that in-school experience? So it's kind of a dynamic situation. I do know it depends so much on the product type. Like downtown, you know, you've got the other issue, which we haven't talked about, and I apologize for being late this morning, which is some people are worried because of the protesting that happened and the riots. And so that's like another layer that's caused fear. It's not just getting in an elevator or not being able to use common area amenities in a high-rise building. There's this new conundrum of, you know, kind of what's happening outside, you know, is crime an issue? And so I think closer to downtown it's losing its appeal because families don't want to be there, feels scary. They don't want to ride an elevator. Business people who wanted to be able to walk to work can work anywhere. So I think we're seeing closer to city center is the challenge. And as you move out, so luxury away from downtown is going to do better than I think, right? Like my listings on South Michigan Avenue. What's the point? There's no parks. No like concerts. There's no festivals. You're not walking to work. Like, why be downtown?
Paul, I'm curious here because first of all, I want to know what's going on in the attorney world, but your office is downtown. You have two, I think, to my knowledge. Are you experiencing the same thing?
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask like a follow-up question because how are you as the realtors, how are you navigating this, like currently in this moment? I mean, the thought is this is not going to be long-term with COVID. At some point, things will kind of straighten out. So how are you navigating with your clients? Because I'm seeing clients are being really emotional about everything and very nitpicky, and like the littlest things are becoming huge ordeals. So how are you navigating your clients at this time to make decisions that are not strictly emotionally based on what's going on right now? Because yes, your kids are not going to be going to school in person this year, but next year they may be, or the year after. The fests and everything are done for this summer, but at some point the city will, hopefully get back to some sort of normalcy, so that they're not in a position where in 2 years or 3 years they're like, all right, well, now we want to get out of here and go to another spot. Is that a challenge at this point, dealing with your clients, especially on the buy side?
My sense is that when this started, we all thought like, oh, be done by April. You know, it was like, oh, whew, you know, give it a month, we'll be fine. And now the reality is, again, we're looking at starting to send kids back to school, is that we're going to be living with this for a long time. And I don't know that my kids will go to camp next year. I don't know. And especially if you're thinking about it from the perspective of a parent, we're an elderly person. And I think the elderly community is really having a tough time because the isolation is very, very hard for them. But if you're a parent, 2-3 years from now is like eternity. My God, my kids will have grown 5 inches. They'll have changed sizes 6 times. Like the practical reality of what am I going to do next month? How am I going to work and deal if they've got to be homeschooled, which I don't know if they do or not. Like there's so much, I think the unknown. We are not a culture that's used to having to be so flexible. I understand what you're saying. I don't think we can get people. I think people are having trouble week to week. I don't think you can get people to say, hey, well, let's focus on a year or 2 years from now, because we don't even know what a year or 2 years from now is going to look like, because we thought we knew that September would be normal, and now we know that's not the case.
Right.
That's me. I'm an amateur psychologist.
I think like just coming from a buyer's standpoint as well, luckily 5 years ago when I had my 4th kid, we moved into this house. It was a 5-bedroom. I renovated it, turned it into a 6, added a bunch of bathrooms, and created a nice big deck that I could, 20 seating for 20, right? And so basically my home during COVID has become like the hub of outdoor dinners and like social distance stuff. And as a parent, those last 2 months of schooling my 3 little ones in private school and then my high schooler over at DePaul Prep was a nightmare. Like I was drinking by 3 o'clock every day. So, I was like, okay, 3 o'clock is the time yet for my wine. So like the thought of even starting that again, I'm like, oh, what do I do? So currently I've gotten a bunch of parents together, just kind of figure out how do we do this together? And home-wise, just, they're all looking for ways to rework their space or move. That's where they're all coming from. Yeah. And that's kind of what got me into, okay, I need to buy rental property. So that's why I told my realtor, I'm like, okay, this year's building, it needs to be a 6 or more. I need tons of tenants, because some people, I also know families who are going to be losing their homes as well, unfortunately. And I said, there's going to be lots of renters. But now from talking to you guys, I'm like, maybe I should be looking into buying multiple homes and then renting out homes. I don't know, because instead of looking for a big, tenant building. So that's interesting. Maybe even looking into REOs.
I think that's a great point. And I think, right now, I think, first of all, it was an excellent question to challenge us. But I think there's too much uncertainty right now for us to really play Dr. Phil, but we can watch trends. There's certainly going to be a ton of repurposing going on, and that's going to affect our futures. So I think it's too early for us to guess and to play a god and tell our buyers go this, go that. But I think we give them the options, and we let them make the best decisions they can on the information they have at the time. And that's all we can do right now. But I think we have to really pay attention to what the repurposing going on in the market, and hopefully jump in and make the correct decisions at the right time. That's the fun part about this business is, it's ever changing.
Hey, Frankie, the thing we have to really consider is the economy. Like I said, these jobs have to come back, and these businesses have to reopen and flourish. I know somebody's talking about the restaurant community. I'm in this business, and thankfully we've got liquidity where our restaurants are opening. We're doing okay. But when you have, I'm one of the board members of the Illinois Restaurant Association. We're going to have over 40% of restaurants close and never open again.
I know.
So you look at this, and I mean, there's some
And I feel like
landmarks.
right. Sorry, I was gonna just quickly say, and it's okay in summer, but what about when winter, when outdoor dining isn't an option anymore?
Well, yeah, and here's what we did. One of my restaurants is in the West Loop, and we have to be pragmatic and change. So we did was we converted. We have a grab and go. We have a patio. Fortunately, our restaurant's big enough we can social distance, but it's we're having a changing market. But getting back to what I'm saying, this economy it needs to be strong, and we have to look at how we're gonna get these jobs back. And I guess look at this. Say a guy that owns a restaurant, and he lives in Lake Forest. And he's employing 60. There's one restaurant group that went out. They closed 20 restaurants in the city. I can't say who it is right now, but I mean, there's over 2,000 employees they're going to let go. And this is just a resounding effect on all different marketplaces. I mean, people work in these restaurants go to the store to buy pants and shoes, or they go to a grocery store. So the biggest thing we all have to take a look at what is our economy doing? Where are our jobs going? And that's going to really it's kind of when you start a race, it's inertia. You start running and you keep on going, and you got so much power, and then you're going to slowly decrease. And this is what's going to happen with I think a lot of facets of our marketplace, and I think in our real estate market too. We need to be prepared for this. I'm not smart enough, and I don't know enough about economics to predict what's going to happen. I can tell you what's going on and what I've learned in the past. So we all got to keep our gloves up and be very. We have to be in tune with what's going on and changing in the marketplaces. So I just wanted to add that, and if that helps, I hope it does.
Yeah, and so that's all. I think Mike. I think that's all. Great point. I've lived through a lot of inflation and through high unemployment too. This is a unique scenario, but I think even still, there's going to be a lot of job losses, and the market's going to come back. The jobs will come back. There's always going to be repurposing. It's not the end of the world, but I think you bring a good point up that we certainly have to be looking at whatever hit we're going to take in the market. We have to look for the other opportunities. The beauty of it is there's always business somewhere, and it may be in the rental market. Yeah.
No, we live in America. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we will come back. I'm not concerned about that, but you have to look for the next 3 or 4 years. We're going to have a big change. So, yeah, everybody, I'm not trying to scare everybody. We live in America. We have the best country in the world. We have the best people and best everything. We won't rebound from this. But we have to look at what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. There's going to be some changes. You're going to have to be equipped and develop and change your marketing and your businesses to adapt to what's going on. That's all that I'm saying.
No, and Mike, that's a great point. And so to expand off of your point, we as top producers need to understand that that's coming, and that we need to be flexible and we need to tell the agents that I've seen that have crashed and burned and literally lived out of their cars, and I know some that have done that, are agents that have not changed their business models. They haven't adapted to the changes in the industry. And so I think as a responsibility as top producers that we have to, Paul revere that this stuff is coming and make sure that, you have to be looking for opportunities and adapt to the opportunities so that you can survive. So, I mean, some agents don't survive and they get totally annihilated. And there will be big shifts in the market coming up, and it's okay. It happens. And I've lived through 5 major shifts in 38 years, and I'm still crawling, baby. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the next shift, and I'm ready to make my changes. If I got to stand on my head instead on my feet, I'll do that.
Hey, George, I'm curious what's going on, if you would agree or you can affirm anything that's been going on in the lending world, because I know you've got a couple of decades of experience. Not as experienced as Frank. I don't think anybody's that experienced. But
nobody's as old as me.
That was kind of supposed to be funny. In fact, everybody smile real fast. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, good. But yeah, I just want to see. I want to get your thoughts on what's been going on out there, because you got a wealth of knowledge.
I've heard. I see. I'm along the North Shore, so I've seen that some movement of some properties that have not moved before. So that was mentioned in this. The other thing I'm going to say that, reading on the economic side, I think the Fed is going to make sure that the economy, they're going to do all they can to make sure the economy is going to move ahead. So they're going to spend more money, which, that's a whole nother discussion, but I think you're going to see more money flooding into the markets. And so to Frank's point, there's maybe the opportunities, it's going to change, but there's going to be opportunity there. And as Americans, we've always, we've always been entrepreneurs. This whole group we're talking to is that. So I think that you don't if the Fed says they're going to do something, that's what they're going to do. They just yesterday took away, they used to have a certain point of inflation. They took that level out. They're going to drive money into this business, into the economy, and make sure it keeps going. So I know it sounds, there's some negativity or, people scared on this call, not scared, but concerned. But I think that you got to keep that in mind. If the Fed wants to do something, they're going to do it. And again, there's going to be opportunities. So that's my take on it. Rates are going to be low for a long time. Not necessarily mortgage rates will be, but I think they're going to keep lending rates, commercial lending rates down, and you're going to see low interest rates for a long time. Okay.
So I have a question for everyone. We are all on the same page here of what's happening. There is change, which means there is opportunity, right? And we know that the clients take the lead from us. So besides me and Christine, who's investing right now in the market? Because if we invest, if we are buying right now, right, in the next few years, our clients will see where our mind is, right? Is where our mouth is. And they will start and they will listen to us. So I'm just curious, what's your take right now on investing?
I'm telling all my investors to wait.
I was gonna make you talk, Joey. So good, go.
It's not often that I'm quiet, right? But all my investors, they're cashed up and they've either made some good money in the stock market in the last quarter or so, and okay, let me buy some real estate. I'm like, hold off till October. I think we'll be back in a shutdown situation. I think that there will be some deals to be had at least by then, but I think next year probably for investors will be even better. My buyers right now that just want that more space, that are making the not investment decision but the emotional decision, I'm telling them, guys, you're going to lose a lot of places. I'm going to be as conservative as I can. I want you to get the right house, but I don't want you to overpay in a frenzy of a market, because we just had winter, which always leads to pent up demand. Then we had an additional 4 months on top of that. And this is kind of nuts. So calm down. I'm telling my sellers, go on the market, like have a good time. But calm down, buyers. Don't be overzealous. And investors, I'm telling them to wait.
Interesting. That's what my realtor said.
Another thing I'm hearing on the lending side, I've spoken to a bunch of different lenders who are, and all of them kind of had the same sentiment, that they were saying that, maybe the first half of next year is going to be kind of rough. And it sounds like it's kind of the theme with foreclosure and short sales. So as an investor standpoint, I would say that would be the opportunity is really, rolling through those winter months with whatever cash you have in hand or however you're planning it, and your clients the same thing, and see what that market looks like when we slow down, so to speak. And then what the first half of next year looks like. I don't know if maybe George can comment on that too. But it seems across the board, everyone's just expecting the first half of next year to kind of be almost like an 08, 09 situation where everyone's just freaking out. The market is what it is, before it kind of goes back to more or less what we're seeing now, so to speak. But I don't know, are you seeing the same thing, George, in the lending side that I'm hearing?
I am. I mean, yes, I'm still going to say that it's a wait and see. I talked to some of my commercial lenders, a lot of their, my colleagues here at Wintrust, and they, on the commercial side, people are hanging in there. I mean, I know the one area is the restaurant area. The stronger ones are going to make it, and we've talked about that. On the commercial side, it's a little wait and see attitude of what's going to happen, but everyone seems to be hanging in there at the present time. I'm going to go back to that same theme that, you know, the Fed, we're confident that the Fed's they're gonna spend money and keep people going.
Yeah.
And so that's my take on it there.
I've noticed, I may be a little different on this. So I look more for just the specific markets. And so like if I break the South Side up into the different subdivisions, and I'm paying attention what each subdivision's doing, how fast they're rising. Certain subdivisions are definitely going to shift very quickly, like Woodlawn. And so I'm, you know, not as bullish in those areas, but there's certain areas that right now that are literally, I mean, most areas are literally, we're getting multiple offers on. So at least on the South Side right now, and what the limited amounts of rehabs that we get on the North Side, we've been able to sell very quickly as well too. But I'm paying attention to the medium income in that area, and also how fast the properties have been rising in the area as well too, because there'll be an adjustment. There's definitely money to be made now. I wouldn't, you know, I'm not advising my guys to sideline. I'm advising them to proceed cautiously and pay attention to what's going on in the area that they're investing.
I have a question for the group. It's a sort of a shift, but how have you changed your marketing? I sort of stopped my general marketing plan. I thought if I hear one more commercial of in these trying times, I would blow my brains out, and I didn't want to be that guy. So I sort of stopped. I stopped all that. And I actually just started posting a whole ton more personal stuff on Facebook, and have had more people reach out than ever. But I had just started doing Zillow ads at the end of last year, and I killed that too. I'm thinking probably in like mid-December, I'll restart Zillow, and I'll probably restart some of my mail campaigns and things. Anyone else doing any shifts in that way?
For me, you know, being a fashion stylist, I work in the home. So right now I'm not accepting any new clients into my roster that are in person, especially. And even my existing clients, they know that I will not be coming into their homes. But I did just get on with Chicago Real Producers, and I said, you know, let me keep it simple and basic for now, because I think it's still important to, if you think you're going to want to continue to grow, right? Which is what we always want to be doing, right? I've been doing this for 22 years. So it's like, I still want to keep growing. I still have to have my face or my name somewhere, so that in their psyche, when that time comes that it's ready, they remember seeing it, right? So you don't want to like totally cut off your marketing, but maybe just scale it back and then be a little bit more strategic with kind of just throwing your name and your face out there.
I've changed mine a lot. I went back into all of my listings, and I moved outdoor space to be toward the front of my photo order, because I want to push that up. I reworked my verbiage for all our web presence and MLS, because a lot of my listings used to talk about entertaining. Nobody's entertaining. Now I'm talking about more of the size of the kitchen and, you know, the amenities that are relevant today. So I reworked how everything was positioned to speak to what matters during COVID. I changed master bedroom. We're still doing that because I have a lot of listings, and we've gone to primary bedroom or main bedroom, but basically we want to be sensitive to that. So I think we've also shot a lot of new photos. Again, I'm a photo nut, but we've used this time to, again, make sure that we're really telling the story about the things that matter most, and just rejiggered it all. So it's the same listings, just presented differently. Even in my email marketing, my social media marketing, all of it is going back to telling the story of what we think is relevant today that might not have been relevant before, and extracting any language like, again, that like entertaining, because right now it's not really socially cool to entertain. So that's what we did.
So why primary versus master?
Oh, that whole Black Lives Matter thing. Master is out. You can't say master anymore. Master
didn't
is
realize that.
Yeah.
That
yes,
word was offensive.
It's all over the country. It happened fairly quickly. I don't know if the MLSs are changing it online, but yeah, you've got the connotation of like the whole slave thing with master.
I did not realize, you know what? I didn't even realize that. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like every,
Yeah.
it's
I was
interesting.
going to ask Jenny if
No
it
one
was
realized
official.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it was official,
wow.
like on the MLS, so you don't even
not
know. So no,
MLS
I don't
still
feel bad. Because,
Yeah.
that was interesting.
It's not official, right? But like
It's
App
not, but-
Properties put out a big thing saying we're company-wide now switching over and we're supporting this movement, and this is one way in which we're doing it.
And you know, it's interesting because in like private schools and colleges, like you used to have a headmaster and they changed it to head of school. In my university, in my residential college, that was a master. Now they changed it again. So the schools and some of the other institutions have been more proactive, but master bedroom really came out as an issue this summer. And I think we're going to see it. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, the MLSs are all changing it, but the company that does our floor plans has already changed it. And, you know, it's a sensitive time right now. And the hard thing is, I don't want to get political, but COVID and Black Lives Matter are actually really integrally related because you have populations that were more affected. And so I think our job in everything we do, social media, real estate marketing, everything is to be leaders and doing it, you know, at the forefront and being sensitive to everybody and sensitive to our communities and the needs of the diversity, you know, of population in which we live.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because wow, that's crazy.
I also want to draw attention. We are a few minutes over, which I'm totally cool with. I have a hard stop in another few minutes, but I just want to be, don't feel bad if you have to be somewhere. I know how realtors are. So you're not like hanging up on us if you do have to go somewhere. So I just want to, nobody's going to shun you.
Hey, Joey, going back to the question about marketing, one of the things I started doing is the actual like video, like hiring a production company to come in and do tours for my listings. And I actually did that because I lost a listing because I didn't do a video. And this was months ago when COVID just hit. I didn't think they were as necessary, but I'm finding because we all know the Matterport 3D walkthrough, floor plans, you know, those really carry a lot more weight. But from a consumer standpoint, they, you know, with COVID not wanting people to come through their place, even as things have gotten lifted, they want that video in a sense, because now you get not only a 3D walkthrough, but a video tour for people to review before they ever step foot in the house, knowing that when they do go take a look at the property, they're probably serious buyers for the most part. They're not just opening the door to anyone. So I had a production company that now comes in and they're just pretty much at a price point. I'm not gonna do it for like a lower price point, you know, per se, but you know, anything around that 4 to 5 and up, I think it's becoming more evident because those are bigger properties and people kind of need to see that tour before they ever step foot in and spend that type of money. So that's something I started implementing. And also just from a marketing standpoint, it's awesome to be able to post a really cool video to market ourselves as well. It could be branded, you know, when we do our social media with it. So it kind of covers a couple different areas for us as realtors, you know, helps us sell the properties and sell ourselves, which is obviously what we're doing on a daily basis anyway. So that's something I implement that I think has been really helpful.
Mm-hmm. I agree from a buyer's standpoint. I love that when I see good videos, especially now.
Does anyone do Zillow advertising here?
Not anymore.
Have you changed your strategy, Jenny? Did you increase?
No, it's really picked up a lot. I think the Zillow calls have been really, really strong during this last couple months. So we haven't changed it. We actually switched neighborhoods, but we've got one guy on our team who's selling a lot from it. I think he did 6 sales in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, hey, I'm gonna call it. I appreciate everybody's participation. So what I'll do is I'll send everybody's info out tactfully. I'll email myself and put everybody in the BCC because, you know, nobody likes long email threads. Maybe I'll just do a long text string as a joke to annoy everybody's day. Just kidding. That is a joke. But joking aside, if you're interested in doing another one of these, we try to do a couple a month. Obviously, we will do different partners, different agents to kind of shuffle the deck just so people can get to know each other. One final question I have for everybody. Obviously, with in-person events, people love ours and they're highly attended, but I've ran into that challenge. So if we did something, maybe social distancing, I don't know if that's a word, for the fall or late fall, would people be interested in that? Because I've thought about both ways, just going dark for the rest of 2020, but the thing, it'd have to be an outside space, weather permitting, but I'm just curious what people would want to come something like that. You know, like you'd have to wear a mask, all that stuff. So the challenge for us is, you know, we can't do it's going to be over 100 people. So that's really the challenge for us. So it's kind of like, and do we want to sink resources and energy into it? But would even people be interested in something like that?
I think it's playing with fire. I wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
That's my initial thought.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're not going to offend me at all. I want the truth.
I think, Andy, you would be, if you did a panel that you filmed where you had like people like us not on a Zoom call and you casted it out to people or something like that, that's one thing. But the worst thing for you would be to get 100 people in a room and somebody spreads COVID.
Yep.
And it comes back to you and it's like, wow, those knuckleheads at Real Producers, half the top agents in the city to get COVID, shame on you. You can't risk that.
No, and I love doing these, and that's my initial thought. So I am, and what our staff is thinking too. So yeah. I'm just curious, the uncensored opinion of Jenny Ames. I appreciate it. Well,
you
hey,
will never hold back.
No, I know. I can get candid feedback from you. So I appreciate it.
I don't want to be seen at an event of 100 people. It would be bad.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of table and stuff, but
good idea though. Like a broadcasted panel would be really, really cool, where you throw it up all over the place and anyone can go and hear the people speak. I mean, then it's only a couple people in a room. That would be a cool way to see.
We did end of May. We did a pivoting in the pandemic. We had Joe Zimmerman, Julie Heron, and Amy Duan Kim on something like that. We can do another one of those. Another thought that I had would be to do just like a Friday from 3:30 to 6 p.m., like a virtual happy hour. People just show up on Zoom. Obviously, you don't have to stay for the whole time, but I would do a waiting room, and you couldn't like enter the Zoom unless you like had a drink in hand or something. I'm kidding, but we're trying to get creative. So any feedback that you guys have, I'm obviously down. I'm down for it.
I think to Jenny's point, I agree 100% with her. And now, 2 months ago, I would have said, well, virtual's not, impactful. Now everybody's virtual. I mean, it's not, and by then it'll be even more so. I mean, I've spoken on several panels, investor group panels. We have hundreds of people on these things, so they're maxing out. So I would say that virtual is going to be, we're creating a new lifestyle for ourselves as well too. So why take the risk? What's the benefit of getting together and staring at each other, gasp on our own CO2? And is that Jenny Ames, or is that someone that looks like Jenny Ames? And I don't, is that Andy Burton? Is that somebody else that look, I mean, what's the point of me getting together with you? I don't see any advantage.
No, I appreciate it. Well, I'll send everybody's info out. If you're interested in hopping on another one of these, maybe, I doubt we might do one end of the month, but September, October, just let me know. But I appreciate everybody's time. Good seeing everybody's face again. Have a productive day.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Adios.
Thank you, Andy.
Adios,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.